Hey everyone, how's it going? BigLT here, Digital Let's Player BigLT Radio. This is another review first impression video, but this is more of a flat out review on its own. First impressions is basically part of a review, like it wasn't finished, but it's part of it, and then just a normal review is everything I've done up to that point at the end. So yeah, this is a flat out review for this one. This is the first review for the series. And this is Nexomon Extinction. Actually, this is the second game in the Nexomon series. And when I first played it, I had a lot of difficulty playing it. I got to a point where I was stuck that a lot of my Nexomon were under leveled, that I couldn't progress. And it happened a lot. So, but the good thing is that I went back maybe like a week ago, or a week or 2 weeks ago, I went back to play it, and when I was playing it from the start, I decided to do a bunch of shard hunting. Nexomon Extinction has this thing where you can actually farm shards. Shards are very useful. Sometimes there are certain tamers that want you to trade your shards for other stuff. Shards actually are very useful because you can get cores in the Parum City Lab, and what I did with them was, it took a while, but I got myself these this one core that apparently allows you to share 25% of your experience, depending on the leader. So I had to get that. I had to do it 4 times for each Nexomon, and you can only have 6 Nexomon at a time. So I had to get at least, I think it's like 24 of these cores. And I think that led up to about 120 shards each. And there's like 8 shards. And it's all random. You could basically save your game before you hit a shard to get the shard that you want, in case you want to get the one that you're missing or whatever, when you're kind of limited. But anyway, this is basically that's basically how I started the game. But game basically starts as a little bit of a look at the end of the game. You come across this one Nexomon that apparently you don't know nothing about. Apparently you were behind it. You're being a traitor or something because of this weird Nexomon or something. One thing I do like about this game, though, is before this cutscene even happens, your character is on this ship that is falling from the sky. This is where you get to pick your avatar, as well as give the avatar a name. Normally, I was playing as a girl with the red hair, and I named it after what I would believe would be my twin sister if she was real. Then again, I don't have any like siblings except for a half brother. So, and the thing is, I like the girl from this game the best. So I played as the girl. I liked her. So, yeah, then the cutscene happens, and then you're basically at an orphanage, and apparently you're going to be setting up as a tamer. And while you were given the task of capturing your own Nexomon, there's a thing with this green-haired woman in a hood, and somehow be able to freeze time. I don't know how that happens. You're also ambushed by a dragon. You're given your first Nexomon starter, and you battle the dragon you're supposed to lose. And then you find out that that the statue vanishes or something, and there's like a hidden cave or whatever. You go in there, you learn how to catch Nexomon, fight Nexomon. There's also a tomb that like a little tomb, or well, it's not a tomb. It's more like a grave marker or something of a picture of all these characters from the first Nexomon, and I'll get to that in a minute, or at least near the end of the review. But yeah, so apparently your adventure starts. You go to Parum City. You register as a tamer, and basically your first quest is to go to the frozen lake. Going through the Outlands, you have to go to this frozen lake to help this miner apparently farm, or not farm, but apparently harvest these crystals. I can't remember what they're called. They're not the shards, though. They're like some kind of nexo crystals or something. And apparently, when you get to your objective, you fall through the ice, well, you don't technically fall through the ice. Your client does, and then you go down the ice to find them. They're frozen, and it turns out to be a tyrant, and you have to battle this tyrant and everything. And I won't say what tyrant it is. Tyrants are basically the legendaries of the game. So are the dragons. The dragons are also legendaries too. But you battle this tyrant and you beat it. Go back to the guild in Parham City, and I believe after that you have to go back to the orphanage to basically see what your mentor is all wants or whatever. Something about something going down at the orphanage. And you go to the orphanage, you talk to your mentor and all this stuff, and later on you're given this egg that apparently is a tyrant egg to help fight the other tyrants or something. So you're given the egg, and then you said, and they're like telling you, oh, you got to go get these powers or whatever that are around the area or something. So your first task is to go to this witch or whatever that's in Immortal Citadel, and you talk to her. And the thing about this game is it is amazing. There's a lot of fourth wall breaks, a lot of comedy humor. One of the things I'll mention is when you go to Parham City for the first time, you see these kids jumping rope on a bridge. But the spot they're jumping rope on is like there's a hole, but of like a very thin plank, and they'll count 96, 97, 98. This is the best place to jump rope. And then your guide or whatever, this cat or whatever, his name is Coco. He's like, okay, I think I figured out the part of the extinction, part of the tile or something, and it's good. But then they get to the witch, and it's even funnier because there's like a certain amount of things that's going on. Like you're given a task to guess a number between 1 and a million or some crap like that, or 10 million or something, and you go see her and everything, and for me personally, I picked 24. So I picked the number 24. So for example, using 24, she's like, I knew you guessed 24. You're looking for the Tyrant of Light. Someone tried to kidnap you. We live inside this video game console, depending on the console you're playing as. Because I was playing the PS4, she'll say the PlayStation 4. If you're playing the Switch, she'll say the Nintendo Switch. I guess with Xbox, she'll say Xbox One. I don't own the Xbox version, so I have the Switch and the PS4 version. So yeah, she'll basically just say it right then and there. She'll just say, we live in the specific video game console, and Coco will say, what was that last one? And she's like, someone tried to kidnap you. Like that last one didn't even matter. But then she basically tells you got to get these powers, whatever, for the egg and everything. They're scattered around the area. This is where they tell you this. Your first task is to go to this place called New Ignitia to get the fire powers. And while you're there, you're greeted by a Tyrant of Fire and his renegade, I guess is what they call him. So he wants you to go find the other renegade who had the Tyrants from back in the frozen lake, and you beat him in a battle, and then he teleports away, and you teleport to another part of Ignitia that apparently was blocked off earlier. You follow the path, and you come across this tomb of one of from the first game. Of course, this is from the first game, Omnicron's children, and this is Fenrir of the fire element. So you fight him, beat him in a battle, and he gives you the fire powers. And after that, you're with your new fire power, you go and tackle this renegade and his tyrant, beat him in a battle, and now I believe at this point you're given the silver rank of the guild or whatever. You're now the silver rank, and now you're able to go to this one place that you can't actually travel to no matter what. I don't believe, but you can go to a place called the Drake Isles, and this is the place where the dragons normally are part of the area. But it's run by a renegade there too named Lydia, but she has a tyrant, but she works for the guild. She's not like the other tyrants apparently. So you go there to the Drake Isles, and apparently there's this one character that says, "Hey, we need to go to this lab or whatever because there's something important about this lab or something." So you have to get Lydia's permission to go to the lab because her tyrant is blocking the entrance. While you do that, apparently there's a dragon going that is running rampant or whatever. So you have to beat that in the battle. This is the spots in my first time playing through that I got stuck badly in, that I kind of stopped playing the game for about a few months at least, maybe a year. But you beat the dragon, and then Lydia basically says, "Okay, let's go to the lab." You go to the lab. Of course, I believe you have to also have to battle Lydia too. So you have to battle Lydia and the tyrant and her team. So you beat her, then you go into the lab. And even before then, you go to this tomb for another one of Omicron's children. That apparently, I think if I remember, it gives you the wind power. They give you the tempest power. So that way it's a way to like parkour to certain areas of the area. Like if there's a gap, you can just parkour over there with the element of wind to get to the other side, for stuff that you couldn't get before. So then you do that. Then basically, you go to the lab, you do all the stuff. And while you're in the lab with Lydia, she tells you about the story about the dragons and the tyrants and one particular Nexomon, and so to speak. And by then, someone's already in the lab, doing something. You go back to the main entrance. You find out these doors or whatever that weren't open before are open, and you go inside, and it's like apparently one of the headmasters of the guild, and I believe if I remember right, you have to fight her, but I can't remember. I'm not sure. Maybe not yet. No. Wait, I'm wrong. You basically fight your two friends that you grew up with in the orphanage because they believe that you're a traitor. So they fight you, and the headmaster is trying to manipulate everybody, saying, "Hey, we don't know what you're talking about with this one name of this Nexomon," which I won't say right now, but I will when I get to that point. I'll say this is kind of a spoilers part. But she's like, "I never mentioned this one Nexomon's name or whatever," and Lydia's like, "I never mentioned his name," and that's when the whole thing just goes south, and they realize, the headmaster apparently was lying or something, and basically summons said Nexomon's name to basically do something or whatever, and you're falling from the Drake Isles, you basically fall or whatever, and then you land in another part of the game called the Frozen Tundra. Now the thing about the Frozen Tundra is you can always visit even in the beginning of the game. I should probably bring this up. A lot of the Nexomon tamers basically will have roughly about the same level as you, depending on how much you train. Though I think there is a level cap until a certain objective is complete. So when I went to fight the first tyrant, I believe a lot of my Nexomon were about 18, like level 18, but the highest level this guy had was about 14, so I was like 4 levels higher. And over the course of the game, I was actually a lot higher than a lot of the tamers are in the game up until the end of the game, which I'll bring up later. But so yeah, you fall into the Winter Tundra. There's apparently this one character who drags you back to the guild in the Winter Tundra. There's a guild there's a part of the guild in the Winter Tundra, and while you're there, I believe what happens is they promote you to gold rank. I think this is where they promote you to gold rank. So now the next quest is to, I believe, go to this mysterious tower that a lot of shady things are happening there. So you go to the tower. This is apparently the tower from the first game where Omicron basically was, and his children, so to speak. You go through it and everything. I believe you get one of the elemental powers here too, but I can't remember which one. Maybe it might have been water. It might have been water. This might be the point where it's like you get the water element and now you can freeze water. I don't know why this is a thing. You get the water element, now you can freeze the water. I don't know if that's the power or not, because there are certain parts in the Frozen Tundra that has to have use of this ability, and I'll talk about something like that later on. But yeah, there's a part where you progress through it. You have to freeze certain water areas or something. I believe that's right. Um, so basically, from there, you get to the end and you find this machine that apparently is used to bring back people to life. I think is what it is. It's like some kind of like it's a resurrection machine, is what it is. Um, and after you take care of what's going on there, you basically get the task to find the blueprints, and you grab the blueprints. Now these blueprints apparently are used for something later on, but I'll bring up that too when I get to it. Um, so you have to look in this room for the blueprints. You get the blueprints. It's an optional thing at the time though, but for for a lot of stuff that happens later in the game, it gets to the point where it's mandatory if you want to do something. So you do that, you leave back to the thing, and now they're like saying, okay, well, now we got to find where this one person's hiding because they've been hiding somewhere. And they're like, well, there's this underwater city or whatever, and they're like, okay, we'll go there. So now you got the task to go to this underwater city. And when you arrive there, everybody speaks some kind of gibberish. The gibberish, it's a language that isn't a language. It's really weird. And you can't translate it. There's no way to translate it. You go into this one room where those plants are, and this one person can apparently speak English, and he can translate the gibberish for you, so to speak. So you basically go back to some of these other people, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, there's this tournament or whatever and such, and there's a battle arena and everything." So now you can translate what people are saying in the gibberish, and it's not a problem. Of course, there's also while you're with this one guy, you have to. Before you're able to translate anything, you have to follow this one guy, and he says, "Well, okay, well, since you found me and you're with me and everything, I want you to your help fixing these 4 generators that are located in this area. If you fix that, then you can translate the stuff. You can heal your Nexomon. You can buy stuff at the shop. You go to the battle arena and such, and it's pretty simple. I think there's only like 3 fights in the battle arena that you have to do. The only thing is that, okay, if you want to be prepared for this, I recommend leveling up a lot. I don't know what level you need to be depending on the tamers and everything, but I think I was around the 50s at this point. I could be wrong. I think I was around like level 50s at this point, because this is getting to the point where it's getting close to the end of the game. So yeah, I was like I might have been roughly around the 50s, maybe just a few levels under that. But you only have 3 fights. The only restriction is you're unable to use items, so you can't heal your Nexomon with any of their stamina or HP or anything like that of the sort. You can't cure their status and ailments, so you have to fight through this without any sort of healing anything. But you only get like 3 fights, and it's not that bad. Again, if you're high enough level for it. So after that, you come across, you find this guy who's apparently arranges the whole thing. He's the guy who runs the place. He's actually one of Omicron's children, apparently, and he gives you the power to use electricity. And he was like, well, even though you've won this, you could have just asked me for this power. You didn't have to fight in the tournament to get it. But it wasn't that. It was like, well, we only did this so we can actually get this key to access a lab that's here. And he gives you the key regardless. So he gives you both the power and the key, even though it's like one thing. It's only one thing, but he gives you 2 things. I guess because he's like, well, I know who you are. I know why you're here. You could just ask me for this power. But they're like, no, we just want the key. And it's like, well, I'll give you the power and the key. So yeah, you get the key. You go through the lab. The lab for me the first time was a little bit on the tricky side because I didn't know what I was doing. But there's like these lasers that change depending on when you strike certain things with a lightning. And there's even, because of the angles, you don't know where to go if you didn't check it. So there's certain spots where it's hidden because of certain environments or whatever. You didn't see it. Some of these environments are like on the bottom of the screen, where the walls are, because you see the walls, you think, oh, you can't go there, but you can, and it's hidden so well because of that, and that's how you get to certain areas. That's where I got stuck for a little bit, and then I found out about it. I was like, oh, okay, so that's how you move on. So you get through the laser defense system using the electrical powers that one of Omicron's children gave you, and basically you get to the end of the lab, and you have to fight another tyrant who is electric, I believe, and you do wind up failing to stop the headmaster from unleashing this artificial Nexomon of sorts, and you go and you basically try to go back to the surface to do whatever, and you wind up back in Parham City, and then you and your friends and everybody apparently get arrested, sent to another location of the map. And I'm gonna be honest, this part kind of sucked, but it only took me like maybe 3 or 4 tries to get through it. You have to go through the prison without basically getting caught. But the thing is that you have to get your tyrant egg back. Otherwise, you're not able to use your powers. But I'll bring up something about this in just a second. So you get the tyrant egg in basically their warehouse. Again, you have to avoid like 2 guards though. And once you get the tyrant egg, it's not that big of a deal. Like even if you get caught once and you know what to do to get back to this one side where you were going into the warehouse to get the egg, all you have to do is just go over the wall, freeze some water, go around to the entrance, and apparently you've been pardoned, so to speak, by one of the other headmasters of the guild. Then they say, well, don't do this again, otherwise we're not going to save you this time. So now you're in this one town that apparently doesn't like the guild, and they don't like selling things to the guild in this town, so to speak, very well. Like you go to the normal shop and everything's overpriced. It's like, well, why buy stuff here when you can just go to another town or another place or whatever and just buy there, and so to speak. But then later on, you get this like thing or whatever, this like certain key item that the head of this one town or whatever says, oh, we consider you a brother now. Here, have this. We consider you one of us now. So here, have this like key item, whatever. And while you have the item, you basically like, oh, now every shop can sell you stuff, and even at a discounted price, and it's not overpriced anymore. Which at this point seems kind of like not useful, because some of the items that they sell are not as useful as what you can probably find elsewhere. Probably, I don't know if this is the case, but I think the exception of some of the elemental Nexo traps, because you can only buy them in certain places, unless you've been farming shards or whatever, you could technically go to like one of 2 shard merchants that apparently will exchange 3 shards for an elemental Nexo trap. One of those I'll bring up a little bit later. So yeah, basically, now that that's a thing, there's another tyrant that's apparently going on. You go face them, and basically there's like this thing where it's like, wait a minute, you have 2 tyrants near us? This one Nexomon's gonna find us or whatever. They're gonna notice us. And now you got this witch that's apparently teleported out of nowhere. She saved you, Coco, and apparently the renegade of this one tyrant, basically just a few feet away from you, while this one Nexomon kind of eradicates the tyrant. But I'll bring up something about that in a little bit. So now you're got a prime target here. You got to go basically to stop this one Nexomon that's at the guild or whatever in Parham City. So now it's like, okay, well, now we need to recruit all the tyrants to basically take out this one. So there's a point in the story that I probably forgot to mention where this was in Frozen Tundra. You go find this time capsule in this one factory, because the miner from your first job is there, and she's basically like, oh, we need dynamite or whatever, but this guy's not getting it. So you get the dynamite, you go to the location, go to the end of the thing, and apparently it's the sidekick, so to speak, from the first game. And apparently why I'm bringing this up is because once you decide you need the help of the other tyrants to beat this one other one, you have to require this one other sidekick, take him to the Drake Isles to scan where the other tyrants are. And just as soon as you do that, the artificial Nexomon kills them, so to speak. Sorry if that's a spoiler there, but yeah, he kills them. with his power and everything. And then it got to a point where it's like, well, yeah, they're in the afterlife, but we are saving them in a way. So all you need to do is have this power of healing. And I should also bring this up too. While you're going to start going to the Drake Isles to do this, one of the characters that you met before, who's a thief, steals the guy that needs to help out with the Drake Isles thing, and takes you to a tomb, so to speak, where your mentor shows up, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm apparently one of Omnicron's children too, and here's the power for mineral earth, whatever you want to call it. And apparently now you have the power to crush large boulders, which, technically speaking, I think you only use like once or twice in the whole entire game, so it's not the best use of an ability at the time, even at the point of the game you are at. But you are required at one point where it's like, oh yeah, there's one tyrant that apparently is still alive, but he's being so well hidden that the artificial Nexomon doesn't even know where he is. So you have to go to this place and you come across the hidden village, and this one tyrant says, hey, technically speaking, you've always had this other power inside you. It's the power of life, and basically you get this other element. So now you have to task a job of getting these 5 other tyrants back to life. And as soon as you've done it, the artificial one's like, I've sensed more tyrants, and apparently it's the ones I killed. They're back, and they don't know how. So now it's gotten to the point where this is getting to the end of the game. Now you're getting to the end of the game. So the point of this, the next part of this is like, oh, we need to get up to the top of the guild thing, but in order to do that, you have to be a Grand Master now. So now you got to get, and not only that, but you need an airship. And to do this, you have to be a Grand Master. So there's a pretty simple test. Beat 3 tamers, or at least so you thought. You beat the 3 tamers, and now apparently you have to fight the person that's been giving you these other tasks for the story this whole time, because apparently she's another Grand Master as well. And you beat her, and she's like, all right, fine, you've been promoted to Grand Master now. And now you've been promoted to Grand Master. Final game comes up, and you go through to get to the top to confront the tyrant. He's not exactly a tyrant. I don't know what he is, but he's artificial. He's the artificial Nexomon. He basically kind of kills you. Well, he doesn't kill you. He just basically knocks you out with his power, with his overwhelming power, and basically says that you were made to be the queen of the monsters. Or if you play the girl, it's queen of the monsters. You play a boy, it's king of the monsters. So it's like, yeah, you've been, you're the heir for the monsters or whatever. I'm not going to allow that because I'm going to be that. But there's people in the story that's like, no, he can't be. He's not a real Nexomon. He's artificial. He's never, he can't claim it, because even if he tries to claim it, there's always going to be monsters that will be set to claim it. So he can't physically claim it. Everybody's telling you this. No matter what he thinks he can do, he's not going to be able to claim the throne of king or queen of the monsters. So he goes and basically knocks you out, and basically there's a twist. I mean, there was a twist earlier, but I'll bring up this twist now. So I'm going to bring this up right now. If you haven't played the game, if you don't want to be spoiled, turn this game off. Turn this video off. Go play the game until you've gotten to this point, or at least you beat the game, because this is the spoiler warning. I'm going to spoil you right now. So I'll give you about 5 seconds, starting now, and go and play the game, starting now. Okay, 5 seconds is up. So basically, here's the thing. The Nexomon, this artificial Nexomon, his name is Vados, and basically tells you that you are the Tyrant of Light or whatever. You are basically the Tyrant of Light. The headmaster, the Grandmaster, who's apparently that runs the guild or whatever, she basically says, hey, we're gonna basically, he's basically a traitor. He's the they're this one. They're basically they're a tyrant or whatever. Your main character is a tyrant. They basically tell you that while you're in the city where the prison and everything, they tell you you're the king and queen of the Nexomons. You're a tyrant. You're just in disguise. Because one of the Omnicron's children, who basically betrayed Omnicron in the first game, she's basically your mother, the main character's mother, and basically took you to the orphanage along with your mentor to hide you from the dragons or whatever. And this whole thing with the dragons and everything happened right when you were born. Basically, the whole 15 years ago. This whole thing started 15 years ago with the dragons. You're basically the tyrant, taking you to the orphanage, all that stuff. And your friends come in, they find out the truth, and it's like, we don't care if they're a tyrant. We're friends. We've been friends. We've done everything. We need to pay back for all the stuff they've done and everything and all this stuff. So now you got to fight another one of the Grandmasters. And I don't know if they say something about he's a dragon or something, but I don't think he is. It's hard to explain. But he's not like a tyrant or anything. This guy's like Omnicron's children are. But you beat him in a battle and go and face Vados and basically distract him long enough to a point where Coco says, "We got an airship," and he's like, "Huh? We got an airship?" And just as you're about to finish that sentence, airship just rams him at full speed, and they're like, "Yep, that's the end of the game. Roll the credits." And I'll bring up something funny about this. They say roll the credits. Credits start rolling for 10 seconds, and then they're like, Stop the credits, stop the credits. You really think this is the end of the game? Do you really think this is the end of the game? And they're like, you didn't weaken him, you didn't battle him, he's going to destroy the airship before they even get there. And so basically they just teleport you onto the airship. Now you have to battle Vados. And you basically wind up with all the elements you've gathered throughout your journey with this supposedly tyrant egg that actually is fake. I should have brought that up. Basically, you transform into the tyrants that you were meant to be, this tyrant of light. And you battle Vados. Vados loses, but he doesn't technically lose to the point where you defeated him, because by the time he gets down to 0 HP, he recovers 100, the battle ends, and you get to this one part at the end of the game where it's the final fight. I believe that this is the point where it's this is the final fight. So you go and face him one more time. You lose only for the tyrants, the 5 tyrants that you gathered, to come by your side. You evolve, so to speak. And so does Vados. He evolves too. This is actually the point where this is actually in the beginning of the game where you've seen Vados the way he is, and basically how everybody suggests you as the traitor and everything, because the headmasters were the reason why you betrayed us and all this stuff. You were the tyrant, you were the all this stuff, you're bad, you're evil and such. But yeah, you battle Vados with the tyrants, and you basically defeat him, and he dies. He basically dies. Everybody says, okay, that's it, and all that stuff and everything, and you got a little free movement to do something, and then they basically tell you, oh, you're supposed to use your life power here on Vados, and just as you use it, everybody is like, what are you thinking? Don't revive him! And it's too late. He's already revived, and it's to this point where it's like, oh wait, I understand what's going on. Your character is giving him a second chance at life and everything, and when he comes back to life and everything, he's so confused, he's conflicted, you don't know what's right or wrong, and all this stuff, and he goes and leaves somewhere, and they look at the witch or whatever that interrupted the credits before and say, can we do it now? And he's like, yeah, fine, let the credits roll. And that's basically the end of the game. As soon as the credits roll and you bring up the game back, you give them some other tasks. You can capture the drakes, the dragons as they're also called. You can battle and capture the tyrants. You can you can battle. There's like one other thing. Oh, you can battle Omnicron's children and capture them as well, but you have to revive them because they all died during the story. But in order to do that, you need the blueprints from the one tower. This is where it happens. You need the blueprints from the resurrection machine to get to this one scientist guy. He says you may know where a few of their tombs are. As for the ones that you probably never came across, those are a mystery. We don't know where they are. Also, if you want to revive these guys, you require 25 shards of their corresponding element. So with the first guy who was fire and everything, you want to battle him, you have to have like 25 of the fire shards. And he brings up, it's like, now if you fail to capture him or you knock him out or whatever, I'm going to have to require another 25 shards, which can be a pain. My way I got around it was certain quests offer golden Nexo traps. I used my golden Nexo traps on all of Omnicron's children, so I didn't have to put up with that. And I had some left over. I used them on some of the Drakes. I believe I used them on some of the Drakes. Maybe I used it on some of the Tyrants. I don't remember. I think it was the Tyrants, because the Tyrants are a thing too, because basically they're a very low chance. They're always in the wild, but certain ones in certain locations. For example, the first one that you battled, I believe, is somewhere in the frozen tundra. There's the second one, the one that was fired. He's somewhere in New Ignitia, but they're very low chance. It's like a 2% chance or some crap like that, and they're only in a certain part of the area, as I found out, or something like that. I found out about that somehow, but it's like, it's only in one specific location. Because I think the electric one, I was looking for him for so long, and I went to one spot and he spawned like nothing, and it took me forever. And I found like these other Nexomon before I even found him. So yeah, so basically that's about it. The only other one I could say is like there's another area of the game that's optional. Like you don't have a reason to go there unless it was the post game to get one of Omnicron's children and Drake's, so to speak. And I think there's also a tyrant that is there, but he's not a part of the original tyrants that you fight in the story, the 5. There are other tyrants that are part of the game. 3, of course, are everywhere in the game. You can find them anywhere, and you do battle them at one point of the story. I believe it's during the whole reviving the tyrants. Well, basically one of the tyrants. It was one of the tyrants that was in the underwater city. Basically he comes up and he's like, I gotta take this guy to the afterlife or whatever and such, but he's refusing pretty well. And then he summons like 2 other guys, and apparently they're tyrants or whatever. You can capture them, and apparently you can capture them after this point. So once you battle them and defeat them and send them back to the afterlife, I believe they do spawn in the games already, because I found out about that after watching a Let's Play while I was playing the game. Although I was already ahead of the person I was watching the Let's Play on. So he caught them while he was training, and I was like, I didn't know you could do that already. I thought they were post-game. So I had caught them during post-game, thinking that's when they came up. The legendaries, you catch the legendaries during the post-game. That was it. I will say this too. Vados is kind of an exception. To capture him, you have to go to the prison. You have to go back into the prison. You don't get arrested yourself though. You just basically go back the same way you were in that story mode. You basically go around, jump the wall, you go back to where the cells are. You came across the headmaster that was responsible for the whole Vados thing. Basically tells you he's probably somewhere where guild members won't be a nuisance to him or whatever. And it's your hint to go to the frozen tundra back in Omnicron's tower at the top of the tower, and then you battle him. Now, I didn't think about this because Vados, being an artificial Nexomon, is probably the hardest one to capture without a golden Nexo trap. So if you have a spare Nexo trap, I recommend capturing Vados with the golden Nexo trap. Although he's not known as Vados this way, he's apparently known as Proto Vados. And you, as one of the tyrants, and Proto Vados, when you both get to level 90, you both evolve to your final forms, which Proto Vados will evolve to just normal Vados, and your tyrant apparently when we reach level 90 will evolve into something called Omni-Sun, which explains the whole Tyrant of Light thing. So yeah, that's about it. There's, like I said, there's like one little specific location that's optional throughout the whole entire story. You don't have a reason to go there until like post game when you want to capture certain tyrants or legendaries or whatever. Of course, a lot of the Nexomon that you find on this island you don't find on anywhere in the other games. So there's that. And yeah, that's about it. That's pretty much it. That's basically the whole game. The game's pretty simple. It's kind of a mixture of like Pokemon, Temtem. My friend apparently claims it's a little bit of like Digimon, but it's like I don't see Digimon in this. Whereas Digimon, you scan your Digimon to use them and they hatch them from like an egg, from data. So there's that. Like, it's not so much in the Digimon, and not only that, but Digimon can de-digivolve, whereas your Nexomon cannot. So there's that too to consider. And I guess there's also another thing about Digimon. They have multiple Digivolutions for one Digimon, whereas Nexomon, it's just like Pokemon. You just evolve, and that's it. It's just one singular evolution. So yeah, the game was great. The game was great. I know it took me about a year to beat it, I believe, or a little over a year to beat it for the first time. And I wanted to get this review out as soon as possible this week after I just beaten it, because the day I'm recording this, tomorrow, is actually the release of the original Nexomon on home consoles, because the original one was an Android iOS thing, which I owned for I still own it, but I never touch it because my phone's kind of a little weird on the screen and the placements of certain things. So when my friend told me on Facebook saying, oh, hey, the original Nexomon's going to be on the consoles, and I was like, great. But then I thought about it. It's like, you know what? I'll get it, and I'll probably play the sequel again and see if I can beat it. And I finally beat it, and I think I'm now ready to play the original Nexomon. So, because of this, I will say this with confidence. Expect another review of Nexomon, just the original Nexomon, the first game, the one that originally released on Android, and by tomorrow will be releasing on home consoles everywhere. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually going to be excited about it. I will be playing that. I have it pre-ordered for both my Switch and my Xbox Series S console. I haven't been able to pre-order it for my PS4 because the PlayStation Store just hasn't gotten the pre-order or the game on there. So I'm thinking, well, it's probably going to be the day it releases. So I could get it for that system too, but I'll probably be until next month or something. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's it for the review. So let me know in the comments did you play this game? What do you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was too hard like I did? I quite enjoyed it. And as a rating for the game, I will give a rating for the game. I will give it an 8.75 rating. Definitely go give it a try. If you're a Pokemon fan, definitely give it a try. If you're waiting for a game like Temtem to be released on certain consoles that you want to play it on, give this game a try too. It's basically the same as Temtem. Just maybe, I wouldn't say a little bit on the difficult side, because I played some Temtem, and I think Temtem's a little bit harder than this game, but it's got some difficulty spikes near the end of the game. So there's that as well. So yeah, I definitely recommend this game. I can definitely recommend it. Give it a try. See what you guys think. And yeah, this is the end of the review, and this is the end of the video. So thank you all for watching my review of Nexomon Extinction. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time when I do another review. Take care.